Hello and welcome. This will be an overview of Ion business rules in Infor OS. Ion is a component service of Infor's operating services system, an access system integration and automation platform. This Ion service includes a business rules engine. When you're creating business process automation type flows, you can include rules from this business engine. That means workflows that you can also create in Ion can call these rules for approvals to decide based on several parameters, such as who should make certain approvals and just for general decision making, which can define rules for anything from pay scales to shipping rates, for example. And any other application can use these rules by calling the Business Rules API in our API gateway. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, there's two icons for roles. There's an editor role and an approver role. An editor comes in and creates the rules so that you can have a manager or a business process owner come in and manage these rules and change who should be the approver for a certain type of task. And as an approver for these rules, when someone else changes them, the approver will come in and review these changes before they go into production. Also, you should know that you'll need to assign these roles to the users in the OS portal under the security section. There's a decision service editor role, and that's the person who creates and edits the rules. And then there's a decision service approver, which is the role that can approve the changes that the editor makes. Now let's look on how to do this. I've navigated to Ion in the OS portal. The person who either has the editor or the approver role will have access to Ion. If that's the only role they have, they will not get access to the rest of Ion to do all these other features. They'll only have access to this business rules page, which is under the monitors and workflows menu, and they won't be able to change anything else except the business rules. Once under the business rules tab, if we want to create a new business role, click on the large add button where we can either create an approval matrix, which is a rule set for deciding who's going to approve something in a workflow process, for example, or a generic decision matrix. Let's click on approval matrix. We'll give this a name, Approve POs Demo or Approve Purchase Orders Demo, an optional description, and then we can start adding parameters. And these parameters can be named anything you like. For parameters, let's say the company, vendor, and PO amount. And we can set the PO amount as a decimal value and keep the company and vendor parameters as strings. Now we'll start creating the definitions of this rule set. We'll use all three of these parameters. And now we're going to create a couple sequences. So this first sequence will say that if the company is equal to company XYZ and the PO amount is between 0 and 1,000, and we can have any vendor at all, so we'll keep that as any value. And now we'll set the person who needs to approve these type of purchase orders. And we can choose whether it's a user, a group, or from a user or group from a parameter. We'll just select group as our distribution type and pick a group from here. And now we can set another rule. We can say if company equals XYZ again, but this time the PO amount is between 1,000 and 10,000. Then we'll have it going to someone like a VP or a specific user, so we'll keep the type user. And we can keep adding these conditions until we match the different scenarios within our business. So that includes different companies, different PO amounts, and we can even add in the specific vendors. For example, if there's a certain amount of vendors and there's a purchase order for a specific vendor, then that can go to an approver that's either a regional manager or a VP, for example. Hence, you can add as many conditions as your business needs. We've only added a couple, but it's very common to add dozens or even hundreds of these, depending on the simulation you have. For each one of these, I can also add a note to say, this is to handle the following conditions, etc. And this can help explain to someone who comes by this condition or an approver why this particular condition was created. Once done, we can simulate this matrix. Toggle on the simulate button, and for the first test, we'll say, if company XYZ with a PO amount of 50 comes along, then we'll immediately see that it's going to match our first rule and is going to be assigned to the Infor OS team. But if we set the PO amount to 5,000, then we'll see that it will evaluate over to our second sequence condition, and it would be assigned to our VP, in this scenario, Boyan. From there, you can keep going through and ensure that all anticipated scenarios in your business are going to be handled by the correct business roles. So now we can turn off the simulation, and in the future, if certain people or certain roles need to be reassigned or switched out, you can also do that via the replace function. For instance, we can find Boyan and replace the user with another user. Click Replace, and that will be a quick way to update and maintain your business roles. Also, if you want to define this business rule in Excel, you can import the CSV here, or you can export the CSV to keep a local copy, just in case you want to be mindful of future changes. Now that we're done creating these roles, we can save them. And if additional conditions need to be added or edited, we can always come back before submitting for approval. For this business role, we're done, so we can click Submit for approval. Now you can see that it's pending approval, and anyone with the approval role can come in here and view it and either reject it or approve it. And as someone with the approval role, once I approve it, you'll notice a few things. This role set will become locked, so we can no longer add or change any of the parameters. You can always come in and add more sequence steps or change the sequences, for example, but we can no longer change any of the parameters. So I'll go ahead and approve it, and a warning message will pop up. Click OK, and now there will be a new version created. And notice that the latest version will always be the one used. So the next time a workflow or API calls this rule set, it'll be calling the newest version of the business rule, not any of the older versions. Now, if I wasn't creating an approval matrix, but just a generic decision matrix, it's quite similar, except that as we create parameters and definitions, the difference is in the parameters to check, once selected, click Add, and the parameters to set. So instead of choosing a person or a group to update when a condition is matched, I'm updating another parameter. For example, I could be checking a company, PO amount, and vendor, and then updating some other field, such as an item or invoice number, based on these conditions being met. So when a workflow or an API calls it, they're going to pass in the input parameters, and they're going to receive the action parameter or parameters that are on the right-hand side. And that's the basics of Ion Business Rules in the Infor OS portal. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. If you wish to see more, check out our YouTube channel and subscribe to get the latest content.